Ideja da se kupcima maksimalno olakša da dođu do kase pokazala se kao neadekvatna, jer neka iskustva su bolja uz malo trenja. U svom predavanju Dejv Birs će nam objasniti kako možete da koristite trenje da oslobodite hormone sreće u glavama vaših kupaca. Mr. Birs, please join me on stage. Molim vas da ga pozdravite aplauzom. Welcome.
Voilà.
The stage is yours. Ostavit ćemo i neki 5 minuta za pitanja. We will have Q&A.
Great. Thank you.
Hvala.
Zdravo. I've just run out of Serbian now. I apologize. I want you to imagine that you have taken part in an unbelievable challenge. All right? It started like this. You had to eat 20 hot dogs in 10 minutes. Right? The record is 76 in 10 minutes, so it's not that bad. 20 hot dogs in 10 minutes, all right? Then you had to run a marathon. At the end of that, you had to abseil down the Kula building. And that bit where it's the bottle bit at the bottom, you just like free float. Then after that, you had to do a backflip off a cliff. I mean, well done to you for doing this. Well done. Then you had to listen to Justin Bieber's first album. I know at this point you're thinking, this is torture. On repeat for 24 hours while locked in a room with 100 snakes. I don't know what's worse. Then you get let out and you had to go ice swimming. And then you had to listen to Justin Bieber's second album. On repeat, while you walked 10 kilometers across a crocodile-infested swamp. Then you had to last 5 minutes in the ring with Tyson Fury. And then you had to listen to a tech bro talk about their Bitcoin portfolio for 5 hours. Oh, jeez. And then you had to listen to Justin Bieber's third album on repeat for 8 hours. I mean, it's amazing. Out of the nearly 7 million people in Serbia who are all entered into this competition, only 327 people made it to the end. We lost about a quarter of them to the crocodiles, admit. But only 327 people made it to the end, out of nearly 7 million people. And you're one of them. And the rest are all here. All of you today did this incredible challenge. So well done to you. I think that's fantastic. And at the end of it, your prize for this was a ticket to this event. Yes, this here, your pass. I mean, will this change the way that you think about the event today? That if you had done this unbelievable challenge and you were part of like 0.01% of the people who entered, you completed it. Would it change the way you approach today? Would you be listening? I'll get that. Would you be listening to me more intently? Would you be trying to get more value? Would you be taking notes? Would you be bragging to your friends? Would you be tweeting about the fact that you're here? Would you go home and maybe frame this and put it on the wall? Probably. Because what happens is that when you do something that takes a lot of friction, a lot of effort, it means more to you. I'm going to get myself some glass of water here. Now, what I'm noticing is that this person was relatively thirsty. So was this person. This person here was really thirsty, so I'm going to steal one of theirs. I don't think they need all of those bottles. So, friction, or as we would say in Serbian, trenja, is actually the title of a book that I wrote with one of my friends. And you might be interested that today it is launched in Serbian. Trenja is available today. There you go. So, I want you to think of something that's really valuable to you in your life. Okay, just See if you can pick something that's really, really valuable to you in your life. It doesn't have to be an object. It's just, what is it that means something to you? I mean, it could be your incredible dancing skills that have taken years of practice. I can see you're nodding there, sir. We've got some ballet dancers down here who can talk to you in the break. And it may be that is the thing that you value in life, is your amazing dancing skills. It could be that you have an expensive car. It's cost you millions of Serbian dinar for this incredibly expensive car that's going to take you months or years to pay off. It could be your musical skills that, again, have taken years for you to be able to become fluid on an instrument and for your hands to dash around the instrument like this chap's here. It could be your career. So what is it that you really value? I mean, it could be juggling. I mean, probably not. I mean, the only thing it takes to become a great juggler is no friends. I think that's the primary ingredient. So whatever it was you chose, did it come easily? Did you get it easily, or did it take work? Did it take friction? The likelihood is that if it means something to you, it probably took a bit of effort in some way. It probably took a bit of friction. It probably took a lot of money. It probably took some kind of sacrifice. Because the things that matter to us take friction. But, I like big buts. I cannot lie. Humans are lazy. I mean, if you just think about humans, let's go back 12,000 years ago. 12,000 years ago, humans didn't quite look like this, but they were out in the wilds. They were having to hunt for food. They were having to forage for food. They probably had to move around with the seasons to go to where the food actually is. It was a pretty hard life. You know, you might, an old person would be maybe in their 30s. Then, 12,000 years ago in Mesopotamia, we invented farming. It's still a bit of work. It's not quite as much work as being out in the plains, running from saber-toothed tigers and having to hunt for a living. It's still a lot of work. You have to get up in the morning when the sun rises, and you have to tend to your animals, and you have to plant your crops, and then harvest them, and turn them into something you can eat. You know, it's effort. And then, 250 years ago, we got the Industrial Revolution. And at this point, a lot of the effort is then handed over to machines. So it's less effort for the humans, and they don't, you know, it's just the same thing, repetitive task, again and again, every day. And then, in the last 3 generations or so, we've sat down for a living. We sit at desks. And if you think about it, the effort has gone, over time, from lots of effort to not much effort. And you might be thinking that, yeah, but we're a lot smarter now. We have to remember a lot more stuff. We're a lot more capable. But, bless you, but are we? Are we smarter? Do we have to know more stuff? Because I can tell you, when 12,000 years ago, when these Neolithic humans were out hunting for stuff, they had to know how to track animals. They had to know how to find their way home from being miles away with no signposts. They had to know what the weather was going to be like. There's all sorts of knowledge. They had to know whether eating this would kill you or not. There's a lot of knowledge they had. There was a lot of stuff that they had practiced. Is filling in a spreadsheet any more difficult, really, than being out there in the plains? So I don't think that cognitive effort, what we do with our brain, has reduced that much, but physical effort certainly has, and it's not been great for us. We've got epidemics of heart disease. We've got lower back pain. You know, about 1 in 5 people every year suffer from lower back pain. And it's because we are sitting down. And our bodies are still designed for 12,000 years ago, for being out hunting, for being very active. And we are using them in a way that is sedentary, that we're not moving much. It's like being stuck in an airline seat for 8 hours a day in the office. You know, you're supposed to move when you're on a plane so you don't get deep vein thrombosis. That's the problems we have in the office. And these people here try to bring it to life. I shall play this little film and let you see.
We've created a representation of the work colleague of the future. We're calling Emma. What we've actually identified are danger areas around the office. The biggest culprit is increasingly the chair. In Britain, we spend 8 years of our entire lives sitting down, and that's having huge problems on our health. And unless we do something about it, it's going to change our entire appearance. Emma has a permanently bent back now because of the way she's been sitting at her workstation. The muscles in her legs are much weaker. She has varicose veins because of blood flow, which is not as good as it was. Her eyes are redder, again because of the quality of the air. She has more nose hair, more ear hair. She has a swollen nose. She's much more stressed, so therefore we'll see that stress-related eczema on her arms. And also Emma has kind of a sallow skin because she's been in artificial light for so many years.
Yeah, and it's not just the physical impact on our body. It's the impact in our brains as well. When we sit down, our brains are kind of sitting down. When we move, our brains move. And it can affect our mental health. Psychologists believed for many years that depression led to inactivity. When people were depressed, they didn't move much, they didn't go out much. They thought that that was the way around it was. And in the last few years, they've gone, well, actually, it's the wrong way around. It's inactivity that leads to depression. Sitting in the same place every day. Sitting on your backside, not doing much exercise. All of that stuff is what leads to problems in our heads. Our bodies and our brains are connected. And we have to understand that. We have to keep moving. You see, we have been outsourcing so much to technology. Since mobile phones, we've been outsourcing our memories. I mean, how many of you have actually memorized a phone number in the last year? Yeah. Oh, a couple of folk down there. That's quite impressive. But not very much. We just go to our phones and we tap a name. Why would you have to remember a phone number? We're outsourcing our skills. What happens when you've got basic maths to do? You're just adding up a few numbers. Do you do it in your head? Somebody said yes. Well done. Most people just get out the calculator app on their phone. Because it's just much easier and you know it's going to be right. So we're outsourcing our skills. Do you know that the young generation at the moment don't know how to read maps? The skill of reading a map is vanishing because Google Maps is telling us how to get there. But the thing is that maps also replaced a skill that was innate. Before maps, people were able to create their own mental map of an environment and be able to walk around just by understanding it. So maps replaced a skill and it became its own skill, and now we're replacing that with just technology telling us where to go, what to do. We're outsourcing our decisions so that we're finding that there's algorithms and shopping sites that are helping us make decisions. You know, we're outsourcing that to technology. And now, with AI, we're outsourcing our thinking. And this might sound as if I'm a technology hater. And I'm not. I code. I speak JavaScript, HTML, CSS. I've just created a course that I'm about to release on LinkedIn, which is doing prompt engineering for ChatGPT. So I'm doing the first course on that on LinkedIn Learning. So I do love technology. We just have to be careful about the way we use it, because if we're not careful, have any of you seen the film WALL-E? The people, the fat people, hovering in chairs, yeah? That's the way we're heading. We quite genuinely are heading that way. We don't want to be heading that way. That's horrible. So, we need more friction, both physically and mentally. And we need friction not just for ourselves, but we need to think about friction for our businesses. You see, this cake mix here was introduced about 70 years ago, in the days when everything wasn't just black and white, but incredibly badly pixelated. The whole world, black and white and pixelated. It was terrible. They released this amazing cake mix. This cake mix, all you had to do was add water. Stir it, put it in the oven. It took you like a minute to prepare it and put it in the oven. Absolutely phenomenal. And it tasted pretty much as good as a cake that you would do, bringing all the ingredients together yourself. They'd done an incredible formula on this. It didn't sell. And the company could not understand why it didn't sell. Why doesn't it sell? You do a taste test, it's as good as a normal cake. People can't tell the difference. Why isn't this selling? So they did some research, and they went and they spoke to, back in those days, this sounds sexist now, but back in those days they went and spoke to housewives, the homemakers. And they asked them, why aren't you buying this? And what it came down to was it felt as if they weren't doing enough work. It felt too easy. I'll get that. If you were baking a cake for your family, it was a way of showing your love. And if you make that too easy, it feels as if you were cheating your family. That is what came out of it. So the company that was doing the Betty Crocker cake mixes decided to make it a little bit harder. And they removed one of the ingredients so that they said, all you have to do is add water and 2 eggs. Suddenly this thing was so popular because it felt as if there was a bit of work going into it. They added effort to make it successful. This is a television ad from the 1950s for the very product.
There's something new and exciting in the Betty Crocker kitchens. And here's Betty Crocker herself.
And this is what we're so excited about, my new marble cake mix. It's entirely new. The only marble cake mix in one package that you can mix in one bowl. And the one bowl method makes it so very easy. You just add water and 2 fresh eggs.
There you go, water and 2 fresh eggs. And you can still buy this. Excuse me. Now, am I saying that all friction is good? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Some friction just sucks, and we need to get rid of it. In fact, most friction we should be thinking of getting rid of. However, some friction is good. And we wanted to work out what was the difference between good friction and bad friction. So my co-author and I turned to neuroscience, because that's one of my areas of interest. So in neuroscience, we wanted to look at what happens in here when we are creating friction. Some friction creates cortisol, which is the unhappiness hormone. It makes us feel edgy, it makes us feel annoyed, it makes us feel anxious. So a lot of friction creates that. But some friction releases other chemicals into our heads. And these are the chemicals here. We call ADOSE. And these are the happy chemicals. So you've got adrenaline. Adrenaline is the excitement chemical. Okay, you're excited, all right? You're on that roller coaster. That's it, adrenaline. It's anticipation and energy comes with that. Dopamine, this is all about reward, but it's not just about getting a reward that you get dopamine. You get a release of dopamine when you're thinking you might get a reward. So one of the things, if you book a holiday, and it's in January, you book a summer holiday, and you've got a few months. So there is a point, I believe it's the end of January, first week of February, that is the highest, or traditionally has been, the time that you get the most holiday bookings for summer holidays. And one of the reasons for that is because in between January, February and your summer holiday, you need that boost. And people think about their holiday, and just thinking about this holiday that's coming up makes them feel good. It releases dopamine. Oxytocin, this is the love chemical. This is the chemical. I don't know if you notice when people are together, people very often will touch each other, stroke each other, just touch their arm, all of that kind of stuff. Do you know that human contact, skin-to-skin contact, releases oxytocin? And oxytocin creates an emotional bond between people. So when people are doing all of that, sort of touching you in the shoulder when they're talking, that's releasing oxytocin. When mothers are having skin-to-skin with their babies, that releases oxytocin in both of them and creates the bond between the baby and the mother. Serotonin, this is the not quite so nice chemical for a feel-good chemical. This is the one where people cement their position in a hierarchy. They feel better than someone else. And if you are getting one up on someone else, or you are showing your place in a hierarchy, it releases serotonin. So it's the social chemical, my position in a social stratus. And then you've got endorphins. And this is the thing like the runner's high. And you go to an area where you're exercising, where you go into pain, and then it releases endorphins. And endorphins comes from two words. Endo means inside. The orphan bit comes from morphine. It's the same chemical. You basically release morphine inside as a feel-good painkiller when you reach that point of pain, of exerting yourself too much. Right, so I want to talk about 7 ways to add good friction, because when we started to look at the neurochemistry of friction, how we create frictional experiences that release chemicals, we came up with 7 ways. So first is exclusivity, the second is meaning, belonging, rapport, assurance, competence, and engagement. And you might notice, if you look down the letters, boop, down there, it spells the word embrace. So it makes it easier to remember. So we talk about embracing a dose of good friction. So let me tell you a little bit about some of these. Exclusivity, right? How many of you here have own a designer watch? Put your hand in the air, jingle it around with your very expensive bracelet, okay? So it might be a Rolex, it might be a Patek Philippe, it might be a Cartier, something like that, all right? Why do you buy something like that? Is it because it tells the time better? No. I mean, I've got a second-hand Apple Watch, and I can pretty much guarantee that this will tell the time more accurately than most Rolexes will. So why is it that we would spend money on something that functionally is there to tell time, yet tells time worse than things that are far cheaper? Well, you're not buying it for its functionality. Yes, it's a functional object, but that is not the reason you're buying it. You're buying it because of the way it makes you feel. It might make you feel discerning. It might make you feel stylish. Maybe it makes you feel powerful. Putting this thing on is like a magical amulet that makes you feel more powerful, more businesslike, more authoritative. That's the reason that we wear these things. It's for the emotional reason, the way it makes us feel, not what it does. So, the way that traditionally people would try to make an object exclusive is to try and make it expensive so that most people can't afford it. But the truth is, if you want to make something exclusive, there's one simple thing you have to remember. You need to exclude people. That's what makes something exclusive. It's in the word. You need to exclude people. Who is it you're excluding? That's a really important thing to ask. Because being exclusive, excluding people, isn't necessarily just about pricing. It's not necessarily just about money. So, what it's about, really, is about you being on one side of the fence, getting into the VIP area, and you can see in the other side of the fence, there's a lot more people outside than there is inside. That's what exclusive is about. It's about you being in the VIP area, the privileged area. Who knows who this is? The clue's in the thing that she's holding, isn't it? Yeah. This is Kylie Jenner, for those of you who don't know. Kylie Jenner is one of the Kardashians. And I'm well in with the Kardashians, as you can see. That is actually a real picture. And I look absolutely terrified. But there we go. That's me and Kim. So Kylie, in 2020, she became the youngest ever self-made billionaire. And it's much easier to become a billionaire if you start off as a multi-millionaire, which as she did. But she became the youngest ever self-made billionaire when she sold her cosmetics company to Coty Cosmetics. Well, she sold 51% of it, just over half of it, for $600 million, which made her a billionaire. So what she did was she, in 2015, released her first makeup line. And it was a limited run. And it sold like that because she had millions of followers on social media. And she just announced it, and it sold like that. They were $29 to get these makeup kits. And within minutes, they were selling on eBay for more than $200 a piece. So people were buying them and selling them on because that was the value of them. So the way that she did that is she then realized that, hold on, limited runs, let's just continue doing that. And what she does is she releases limited runs of cosmetics where she announces it on social media, and within seconds, they're all gone. And that has made her company so valuable. So she's excluding people. How is she excluding people? Well, she's excluding all the people who aren't her fans. All the people who don't follow her on social media. Because you need to be a super fan or very lucky to see what she has tweeted or put on Instagram at that moment, clicked on the link to be able to get the cosmetics before they're gone, because they're gone in seconds. You have to be one of the first to click on the links. So she's excluded people who aren't her fans. That's fine. That's good. So that's not about money, because they're only $29. It's not about money, but it's made her company very valuable. There's a company here called Sandals. Sandals beach resorts, holidays. They exclude children. All the parents here are going, yes. Yep, they exclude children. And that makes the beach resorts much more relaxing. So it becomes a fantastic way of creating something that's exclusive. You're not going to have annoying kids splashing in the pool beside you. This organization here, they're called the 100 Marathon Club. They exclude everyone who has not run 100 marathons. You know, you could probably have guessed that. And these people have all run 100 marathons. That's absolutely extraordinary. Now, what do you get as a member of the 100 Marathon Club? Absolutely nothing, except the ability to say you're in the 100 Marathon Club. Their website is terrible. You get nothing, but you can say, I'm in the 100 Marathon Club. That's good. It's a good thing to be able to say. You get what, sorry? Yes, they're famous here now. Everyone knows about the 100 Marathon Club and all the wonderful people in it. So that's worth it, isn't it? This is the moment they've been waiting for right now. Nobody's ever spoken about them before. Oh. This guy is about to step into what's probably one of the most exclusive jobs in the world. Who's excluded? Well, everyone who's not in the family Windsor, and most of the people who are in the Windsor family, and anyone with ginger hair, I think. I think that's the way it works. Super exclusive. Right, so what's our takeaway here? Well, it's important, if we want to be exclusive, to identify who we want to exclude. Once we know that, it makes it easier for us to work out a way of doing that. Who do we want to exclude? It's seriously worth thinking about. And this is the chemicals that it releases. You get adrenaline, the excitement from a reward, that's an exclusive reward. You get dopamine, the anticipation of the reward, and then if you get the reward, you get the dopamine again. And then serotonin, this is the big one for this. Elevated status. It makes you feel more important than others. You have cemented a higher position in the hierarchy. Right, meaning. How many of you here have tried online dating? Come on, be honest. a few of you. You're all too embarrassed. Are your arms shy this morning? Yeah? What liars. Okay, right. Online dating. I met my wife through online dating. I'm not embarrassed to say, and I absolutely struck gold. Yeah, I said that for the recording so that I can show my wife that clip afterwards, and it'll make her happy. So, online dating, there's a couple of ways of looking at this. Right. eHarmony is a very popular dating site in America. It's apparently responsible for 4% of marriages in the USA. Now, to get into eHarmony, you have to sign up. You have to find a username that makes you sound as if you're interesting yet mysterious. You have to dig out some photographs from 8 years ago before you develop the double chin. And then you have to write some believable lies that make you seem more interesting and deeper than you actually are. But you're not finished. eHarmony then asks you to do a questionnaire with 149 questions. And these aren't just easy questions. These are questions like, what do you think your friends admire about you most? What is your biggest flaw? These kind of questions, and oh man, how do I answer that? 149 of them before you can dive into that pool and start swimming around and seeing who's available. And then once you've done that, you can start looking around. You're not finished yet. They give you more questions. They've got another questionnaire. And this is supposed to be more fun questions. Do dogs go to heaven? Have you ever found yourself attracted to a cartoon character? Seriously, think about that one. Yes, Jessica Rabbit. That's a definite yes from down there. Yes. So it's a lot of effort to get in here, to get started on eHarmony. That's so much friction. Right, let's compare that to Tinder. Tinder, you just connect it with Facebook. It automatically imports your description and photos. You just go, is that all right? Yeah. Start swiping. You could be contracting sexually transmitted diseases within an hour. Yeah, you could have herpes by the time you go to bed. So it's a huge difference. And if you think about it, eHarmony had all that friction at the beginning, and what that does is it elevates people's expectations. It elevates their understanding of the reward. It elevates their commitment. You look at how easy it is for Tinder? Yeah. One of them is looking for Mr. or Miss Right. And the other is looking for Mr. or Miss Right Now. It's a difference, isn't it? And there's been some studies into this about upfront effort and how we value stuff. So there was a study done in 2011 by some folk at Harvard. And what they did is they got people into a room and they handed them IKEA kits. They just had to make a simple IKEA box. And the people would do that. They'd make the simple IKEA box and they'd look at it and they'd go, hold on, I've got 3 bolts left over. Where did they go? I don't know, just chuck them to the side. So they've got a slightly wobbly box that they've put together themselves. And then they ask these people, right, do you want to buy your box? Or we've got another box here that's been created by an expert. So we've got this expert-created box, and we've got the box that you put together yourself. Which one do you think you would buy? Well, what they discovered is that people were willing to spend 63% more for the box that they put together. 63% more. Why? Well, it's got a bit of them in it. It was the effort they put in, the friction of actually creating this. Makes this more valuable to me. It's more personal. I did that. That's the genius of IKEA. So the takeaway from this is you can make people work for a reward. So when we've got processes for customers, a lot of it, we're trying to make it as easy as possible, and that is right. But in some places, We might be able to add some good friction. Don't make it all just about administrative forms. Try and make it interesting, valuable pieces of friction, little bits of work they have to do. And they get a reward from it. So, neurochemistry of this, adrenaline, yep, you're after a desired outcome. You get the dopamine because you're hoping for success. And you get the empathy of shared experiences as well from meaning. Right, belonging. Hands up if you've ever been incarcerated in a US jail. Let's just, so there's not a sea of hands, only those people who have been imprisoned for 10 years or more for a violent crime in America. Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Well, only like 4 or 5 people. That's quite surprising. Let me tell you the story of Juan Joel Medina Martinez. He was born in El Salvador. And I don't know if you know much about El Salvador. It's got a population of 6.5 million, so just slightly less than Serbia, almost the population of Serbia. And out of that, 10% of the population are involved in the gangs. The country is run by gangs. There are more people in gangs than there are in the police and the military combined. So they can't do anything. The gangs run the country. Because of that, it's regularly the #1 most homicidal country in the world. That's quite an accolade to have, isn't it? Well, parents, very often, if they've got hopes and dreams for their children, want to get their children out of the country. And that's what happened with Juan. His parents paid for him to go to America with a dream of having a better life. Juan got to America. Pretty much as soon as he got there, he was recruited by one of the gangs that he had been sent away from El Salvador to avoid. So here he was in a really rough gang. And he loved it. He really took to the violence. The thug life was what he was all about. I'll get that. So he ended up getting the nickname Animal because he was so violent. And he wanted to work his way up the organization. His next level was to become a homeboy. A homeboy means you're really going to be part of the gang. You're really one of us now. And what you had to do to become a homeboy was quite simple. You just had to murder someone from a rival gang. And then you went back to your own gang, where they kicked the shit out of you until you were nearly dead. That was it. That was all you had to do. Quite simple, quite simple. So that's what he did. He chose a victim. He chose a victim called Irvin de Paz, who also had left the same country for the same reasons. And at the age of 15, he was murdered, stabbed by Juan Joel Medina Martinez. Now, you might be happy to hear that Juan is now in prison and he's unlikely to get out. But why am I telling you this? You're thinking, well, hold on, gangs. I'm in business. What does that have to do with me? Well, actually, lots. Because gangs are organizations. People are in them with the same hopes to work their way up. You know, getting that promotion is very, very similar. But it's not just about what happens internally. You know, if you think about it, it's probably not that different to working your way up as a Wikipedia moderator. You know, you start off low. They give you a little bit of authority after you've made a few amends. Once you've made about 10 different alterations to improve articles, you're then trusted to create an article. And then after doing lots of that, you're then trusted to do that without having to have supervision. And people are putting their time in for free until they get to the top. And at the top, there's only like 7 or 8 people at the very top who've made it to the ultimate level at the top of Wikipedia, where they've got access to the server admins. Ooh, and these people are doing it for free. But it's all about them having meaning. They feel as if they've got a purpose. They feel as if they're doing something that's important. And this is the ultimate dream for companies. To have people love you so much that they will wear your brand. And how do you do that? Well, this is very difficult. It involves standing for something really, really clearly. Standing for something that people aspire to. So think about it. What is it that Harley Davidson stand for? Well, freedom, rebellious freedom. Is that something I aspire to? Yes. Everyone's got a little bit of this fuck the man thing inside them. And that's kind of what you get with Harley Davidson. It's just, yeah, rebellious freedom. I'm me. I'm out in the open road. What about Apple? Again, there's a lot of people who are very happy to have the Apple logo showing in their devices and quite proud of that. What does Apple stand for? Well, thinking different. Being a bit different, being a bit creative. So lots of people want that. And it's kind of also a way of saying, here's what I'm not. I am not a PC-carrying corporate conformist. So if you can stand for something and you've got a nice logo, people will wear it as a badge. So here it's about creating a tribe. Or if you stand for something good enough, the tribe will automatically create itself around you. But it's possible to create a tribe. And there's lots of brands that do this very successfully. So what's the neurochemistry here? Well, belonging, oxytocin, it's the important one. Connection with others, the love drug. And then serotonin, the validation of status, as you work your way up within a community. Right, I want to talk about competence now. How many of you went to university? We got some, yep. Why did you go to university? Not that. It was cheap alcohol, experimental sex, and the ability to stave off actually having to have a proper job for a few years, wasn't it? But at the end of it, you get a degree. And the degree is supposed to stand for that you are competent. The finance industry has proved that degree programs do not stand for that, as incompetent as they are. So competence. I want to tell you a story about competence. These are the taxis you get in London. For any of you who have been there, you'll have seen these taxis round about. So, to become a taxi driver, you have to do an exam called the knowledge. And this is quite an extraordinary thing. For the knowledge, it takes about 4 years to do the knowledge. You have to memorize the location of each of the 35,000 streets in London. You have to know how traffic changes during the day. You have to know where all the main hotels are, where the theaters are, where all the tourist sites are, all of that stuff. And then, you then have to do the exam. It takes about 4 years to get this information into your head. It takes about 13 goes to pass the exam. It's a huge investment. These people put so much information into their heads that you can actually see on a brain scan that they have grown their hippocampus, which is a spatial area of the brain. And why do they do this? Well, in the days before the internet, it was far more important than it is now, thanks to Uber. But these people would be more trustworthy. They wouldn't want to scam you. They wouldn't want to do anything that was going to upset you. They wouldn't want to do anything that would risk this investment that they had put in. All of this effort, all of this pain, all of this friction. And because they put in the friction, they're going to try harder. It's the same with doctors. Doctors aren't going to want to do anything stupid because they've put in 8 years of their life to become a doctor. This is a problem that we have now. And the problem is that we've got quiet quitting and even quite noisy quitting as well, because people are leaving companies. How are they leaving companies? Why are they leaving companies? Well, they don't feel that engaged. So how do we increase engagement? Well, according to Dan Pink in his book Drive, he says there's 3 things. You've got autonomy. Autonomy is where people get the opportunity to control what they do a little bit. All right? So they've got trust. purpose. They're doing it for a reason. And then mastery. Mastery? What's mastery all about? Well, mastery is about learning. It's about becoming better. It's about improving. And this is something that is really, really important. Allowing people to improve. I've worked for companies who have not wanted to invest in training because, as they say, if we invest this money in training, people become good and then they leave, we've lost our money. But the other side of it is, well, if you don't invest in training, people stay average and they stay. Which is worse? So, mastery, this whole thing of learning, of improving ourselves. During the pandemic, people really went for this. So LinkedIn Learning saw a 50% increase in traffic during lockdown. And it's something that we have been seeing continue. People are still investing in themselves. People are still looking for that amazing job. And, you know, I think it's fantastic that LinkedIn Learning's got more traffic because as a LinkedIn Learning instructor, oh yeah, why don't you check out my courses on LinkedIn Learning? I've got a new course coming on ChatGPT prompts. So, I mean, seriously. I've got 4 people holding up their phones. And one of them is only looking at a text message from their partner because their dog's done a poo in the kitchen. This is a company that's amazing at training, and it's not about training their staff, it's about training their customers. Salesforce have got these training programs for people who implement Salesforce. And it's phenomenal what they do. So what can we do here? Well, takeaway is, you know, help people improve themselves because people want to improve themselves. And the neurochemistry that comes from this, well, dopamine for attaining your goals, serotonin, validation of skills and effort, and endorphins because you're going to get challenges and you're going to have to overcome them. Now, it's time for me to wrap up now, so close your eyes while I whirl through to the last page. Right, okay, so stop making things too easy on your customers. That's what I'm saying. Stop making things too easy on your colleagues. Stop making things too easier for your customers. Stop making things too easy on your friends. Whatever it is, friction can improve experiences. It can improve the way that people feel. So I've got some friction for you. I've got a free course. I wonder how many of you will hold up your phones for that. Maybe you might get up to 5 people. That there is a free course. Actually, quite honestly, it's a free course. And the friction is that you have to take the course. That's it. At the end of it, you'll be able to come up with ideas that you couldn't come up with before the course. That's what it's all about. So that's all I've got to say for you folks. I think if anyone who actually cared has taken a picture of that now. And thank you so much for your time. I love you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, my friend.
All right, Dave. Just wait a second. Just wait a second to see whether we have any questions. Do you have any questions? Da li ima neki pitanja za Dejva Birsa? Samo treba da podignete ruku i stiže mikrofon do vas. Do we have any questions? Samo sekundu. Go ahead. A hoćete prvo? Aha, okay.
Well, I don't have a question. It's a friction, yeah. I will say that it's a very good talk about friction, and we really, really need a noise. And we really became lazy. So I just want to say that my friction as a freelance web designer became speaking on international conferences and street art. That's the best friction that I had. So like, I take camera, I create stickers and put them on the streets in Belgrade, take shots for them, and I take shots for them for Unsplash. Have you heard about Unsplash?
Yes.
It's a great creative community and it's for free.
Yep.
And then you see your images are found on San Francisco News, Forbes magazine.
Yeah.
So, and you're creating a value through the effort. So that's a great talk, and thank you again. That's my friction.
Thank you. I used to be a street artist as well. And I used to put my stickers round about London. And I gave, this was back in 2001, and people could download PDFs of my stickers, and I got contacted by the police in Hobart, Tasmania, in Australia, because my stickers were all over Hobart, and they thought that I had done it, but I was still living in London. But someone in Hobart had downloaded my stickers and covered the city in my stickers, and the police were after me. So,
Here in Belgrade, we don't have that kind of thing, you know, like a
Yeah.
police. So there's lots of free space, and the
anarchy!
anarchy and the great background for that. You know, I love to find red noisy background with the colors and so on. So I have stickers too. Here. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Just we have a question. Imamo ovdje pitanje u sredini, sad samo da vidimo kako ćemo mikrofon da dobacimo. Možda bi ja trebao onaj jedan kao rugby loptu da... Pa niste morali i vi, ali hvala vam. Da li?
We just throw.
Some friction. We need some friction. Okay. Hvala vam.
Thank you for the fantastic
Thank you.
presentation. It's not a question, it's more of a comment.
It's my fly down. Sorry.
Well, besides that, no, you were asking people at an offline event if they've done online dating.
Yeah.
Do you see a problem there? Or
No.
oh, you don't see a problem with people maybe dating online because it's online, not offline?
Do you think everyone here is this a dating event? Is that what people? No.
No, but do you see the problem? Do you see the challenge? You're not.
No,
Okay,
no.
I'll give you some time to think
Okay,
about it.
I'll have a think about
For your
that.
next presentation on the next. But otherwise, very good points.
Thank you very
and
much.
Nice for including the neuroscience in there.
Thanks.
Thanks. Cheers.
Okay. All right, Dejv. Thank you very much.
Great.
Molim se jedan aplauz za Dejva
Thank you very
Birsa.
much.